Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Astral Pet Store. Author by Ancient She. Audio novels by Novelist. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 166, The Keen Family. Sure. Everyone accepted this proposal. Before they set off, Ni Chenkong asked the servants to put the prepared supplies such as dry provisions on the cars. They got in the cars and left after everything was ready. Mr. Su, would you like to ride with me? Luo Guxu asked Su Ping with reverence. Yi Chenshin noticed that Luo Guxu was quite respectful and polite. This wasn't a two-way affection. Was Luo Guxu pursuing Su Ping? It's okay. I will ride with Brother Yi. Su Ping was too lazy to change to another car. He was going to stick with this one car. The disappointment in Luo Guxu's eyes was hard to conceal. Nevertheless, she nodded. Sure. Yi Chenshin admired Su Ping for declining her. What an excellent application of playing hard to get. Everyone got into the cars. Ni Chenkong took the lead and drove away. All 5 cars were T3 models. Many explorers on the way would stop to see. The onlookers were stunned when they saw the word, Polaris, printed on the side of the cars. They knew the cars belonged to Team Polaris. Naturally, members of Team Polaris were in the car. At this base site, Team Polaris was the best of all and had established great fame. They had arrived at the exit. The entrance was still packed. Many cars were lined up with some buses mixed in. Is this the explorers' base? There are so many people here. Are they all explorers? This is awesome. Gee. Students sitting in the buses were curious about everything around them. Some students noticed a fleet of cars driving away from another path nearby. Interested, they asked, are those cars driving back to the base city? The teacher in charge threw a look. He was startled by the word, Polaris, printed on the side of the car. He had heard some stories. With respect, he said, that is a top team amongst the explorers. The weakest on this team are advanced battle pet warriors. They should be heading to the mysterious realm. The weakest are advanced battle pet warriors. For real. I heard about this team from my dad. They are good. Sir, what is a mysterious realm? Tell us. The teacher didn't answer their questions. He kept his voice down. This is not something you should know. All right, quiet down. Many important people are here. Do not anger them. Some students were afraid to pursue their questions further. Some of the students who came from stronger families were intrigued when the words, mysterious realm, were mentioned. Their eyes glistened. They watched as that fleet of cars traveled further and further away. Those students had made up their minds. They were determined to explore mysterious realms in the future. The fleet left the base and soon drove to the 6th highway, going straight forward along the road. The highway was wide but with little traffic. The highway was usually deserted, without a soul to be seen. Rarely would any cars travel on this path because the 6th highway was an intercity road that led to the edge of other base cities. Usually, people would only travel in this way if they had other business to take care of in other cities. Recently, every now and then, some cars would be seen there. They were all traveling from the Longjiang base city to the mysterious realm. Beasts around the highway were few and far between. Feces of powerful dragons were scattered around the highway to keep away the beasts. In the car, Yi Chenshin explained to Su Ping, Longtai Mountain is one of the 3 mysterious realms on our continent. Not only will Longjiang base city send over some top-level teams, but other base cities will also send their teams. Some teams from base cities a bit further away had set off since yesterday. Su Ping was not worried. That is to say, the mysterious realm gathers many powerful warriors. Yi Chenshin, on the other hand, appeared to be concerned. Whenever the mysterious realm opens up, it turns into a gathering of talents. Team Polaris has some fame in the Longjiang base city, we can do whatever we want here. But in the mysterious realm, we have to be careful. Su Ping nodded. On the highway, the fleet moved along fast. In less than an hour, they had driven away from the territory of the Longjiang base city. They were officially in the wilderness. Some base cities were neighbors, but some of the other base cities were located in remote areas with depopulated zones. Those depopulated zones were not recognized as the barren areas. The depopulated zones have a mixture of good and evil beings, which made those zones incredibly perilous. Even the best explorer teams could perish in the depopulated zones. Having entered the depopulated zone, Yi Chenshin put on a more serious look. He was even a bit nervous. The entire fleet began to travel even faster. Luckily, they did not encounter any dangers. After roughly 10 minutes, they were out of the depopulated zone. Having driven away from the depopulated zone, Yi Chenshin breathed in relief. The speed slowed down. Another half an hour later, the fleet moved off to another road. Going straight on the 6th highway, they would head to Yanbei Base City, a base city that was Longjiang Base City's neighbor. This new path would lead them to the Longtai Mountain. The Longtai Mountain was quite close to both base cities. It was said that the name of Longjiang Base City was somewhat related to the Longtai Mountain. Not long after they moved onto the new path, the fleet met with another fleet with cars of a dark red color. Those are from Yanbei Base City. Yan Chenshin squinted. Su Ping looked their way. At the back of those cars were a pair of wings with the color of blood. From the rearview mirror, Yanbei's people saw the fleet of Team Polaris as well. The former didn't respond at all. They kept moving at the previous speed. Gradually, the speed slowed down. More fleets of other teams began to show up. Some were from the Yanbei Base City, some from the Longjiang Base City. Yi Chenshin saw some familiar teams from the Longjiang Base City and he introduced them to Su Ping one by one. All those teams were the best. The average teams, first of all, were not qualified enough to go. Second, even if they could, it would be a suicidal trip for them. All those fleets pressed forward slowly. Not long after, they arrived at the mysterious realm. The entrance to the mysterious realm was at the peak of a mountain. At the foot of the mountain were many roads that extended to all sides like a complicated spider web. The explorer teams from different base cities were coming along from different roads which were then packed. Let's go. Yi Chenshin got off first. Su Ping followed him. The other teammates got out of their cars as well. Let's park the car here and walk up the mountain, Mi Chenkong said. Su Ping was surprised. He asked Yi Chenshin, parking the cars here. Aren't you afraid that they could be stolen? Yi Chenshin laughed. That's what I thought the first time I came here. But the mysterious realm is covered with satellite monitoring. After all, this is an important place and no losses are allowed here. Nobody would dare to steal cars here. If someone did that, we could report that when we get back to the base city. We can pull the surveillance footage to find out who was responsible. They would find themselves in serious trouble. Su Ping was still puzzled. Since the satellite monitoring can be used here, then why not check the barren areas? Yi Chenshin shook his head. The space fractures there will interrupt the signal. The signal can be scrambled at the mysterious realm as well. However, the super satellites used here are considered rare even in the world and they were bought by the federal government. However, to use them in the barren areas, the base cities would have to pay. That explained it. The old man Mo and the strong man Chen threw another look at Su Ping. It was strange that Su Ping didn't even know this, which was commonplace. In principle, if he came from a powerful background, it was unlikely that he would be unaware. Anyways, they were there in the mysterious realm. Neither of them could say anything at this point. On the off chance that Su Ping would hold a grudge against him and set him up, it wasn't worth it. Mo and Chen were senior explorers. They knew that some weak teammates could not deal with the beasts. However, when it came to backstabbing, those sort of teammates were better than anyone else. Get ready. Let's go, Mi Chenkong said. Everyone took out the supply bags from the cars. There were water and dry provisions inside the backpacks, as well as other camping equipment such as tents and pesticide powders. Su Ping noticed that the other team's supplies were about the same. Ni Chenkong led the team and started climbing the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, someone stopped him, Captain Ni. Ni Chenkong turned around. It was an old friend. Ni Chenkong greeted that person with a smile. They exchanged some words and then that person left. The team continued to climb up. More and more teams were going up. The teams were not only those from Longjiang and Yanbei, but also ones from other base cities as well. The way up the mountain was quiet. Nobody talked. Everyone seemed to be indifferent, fierce and tough. Su Ping noticed that almost everyone was an advanced battle pet warrior. 6th rank ones were hard to find there. Halfway through the mountain, Su Ping noticed that next to him, Yi Chenshin suddenly became scared. He looked at someone with fear visible in his eyes. Su Ping was puzzled. Yi Chenshin kept his voice low. Up ahead is a top-level team from a class of barren area in the Longjiang base city. Do you see the captain there? He is the current young family head of the Qin family of Longjiang City. He is young, about 25 years old, but he is already an 8th rank battle pet warrior and he has 2 adult 9th rank dragons. Even some senior titled battle pet warriors would have to yield to him. Su Ping looked over where Yi Chenshin pointed. A team of 7 was going up the stairs up front. The one leading the team was a young man with a fair complexion wearing black clothes. He carried a long spear on his back. The spear was wrapped in cloth and only the sharp head was exposed. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 167, Heritage Ground. Su Ping turned away and followed the team up the stairs. When they reached the final step, they found themselves in a huge plaza. The plaza was crowded with powerful, senior explorers. While there were many people present, the place was neither noisy nor chaotic. People were talking in whispers. If someone wanted to discuss important matters, they would build up astral power screens to stop any sound from getting out. Our Longjiang base city section is over there. Ni Chenkong was quite familiar with this place. He led the way. The explorers' teams were not standing randomly in the plaza. There were different regions for each base city. At the moment, Ni Chenkong took Su Ping and the others to a corner of the plaza, the section for the Longjiang base city. All the teams from the Longjiang base city had to stay there. There was a signboard in front of the area with the word, Longjiang, written on it and a number, 28, below the name. Su Ping asked about the number and learned it represented their turn to enter the mysterious realm. The fact that they were the 28th to enter the mysterious realm was related to the power of the base city, it was unrelated to them, the explorers. This section had an area of several hundred square meters. Over 100 people were gathered there. The Qin family team that Su Ping had seen earlier was there as well. There were another 10 people in addition to the original 6 around that young family head of the Qin family. This was quite a large team. The other teams, because of wariness, kept a safe distance between them and the Qin family. Some team captains knew Ni Chenkong. They approached him to say hi and exchange some pleasantries. Ni Chenkong's eyes glowed when he saw one of the teams. He told Yi Chenshin and the others to wait here while he went to greet the team. Yi Chenshin looked in that direction and said to Su Ping, "That is the team Dragon Fang. They spend time in a class of barren area all year round, it is one of the best teams. The captain of Team Dragon Fang once helped our captain with his career and used to invite him to join Team Dragon Fang. Unfortunately, our captain didn't join because he had his own ambition." Su Ping checked the team. Everyone on Team Dragon Fang was overwhelming, similar to Ni Chenkong in power. The middle-aged man that Ni Chenkong went to greet stood there like an imposing mountain. Somehow, there was a pressure coming out from him, as if there were surging violent energies inside him. Su Ping was taken aback. He had a feeling that person was a titled battle pet warrior. Soon, Ni Chenkong finished with his small talk and came back. The others from Team Polaris stayed in a corner, looking around but no one said a thing. Soon, more teams came. The area with a size of hundreds of square meters was fully packed. Some teams that arrived late would have to wait in the public area by the staircase. Not long afterward, some people suddenly flew up from the plaza and stood in the air in front of the many teams from different base cities. There were 5 of them in total. The overwhelming aura coming from them indicated that they were all titled battle pet warriors. The people chatting on the plaza quieted down at once. Many people raised their heads high to look at the 5 people. Some, however, just raised their heads slightly. They didn't like looking up at the 5 people like this. In the middle of the 5, a middle-aged man wearing a black short-sleeve shirt shouted, "The mysterious realm is open. The teams from all the base cities are here. Please enter in order. Do not stir up any chaos." His voice lingered around the entire plaza and his eyes were glowing. He sounded calm, but his voice was so penetrating that everyone felt the sound was heard directly in their ears. "It's Venerable the Blade." Yi Chenshin looked up to see that middle-aged man. There were traces of respect and excitement in Yi Chenshin's eyes. Venerable the Blade is a titled battle pet warrior that established his fame several years ago. He became a titled battle pet warrior at the age of 28. He is more talented than any of his peers. He is 42 years old this year. His pets are formidable. Also, he himself has learned amazing sword skills which are appalling. There was one time, when his hometown base city was invaded by beasts, he cut up to 8 ninth-rank beasts on his own without summoning his battle pets. Su Ping was astonished. It was rare that someone could have done that without relying on pets. The battle pet warriors that Su Ping had met so far, for the most part, relied heavily on their pets. People would train them more than themselves. Without their pets, battle pet warriors would not be able to defeat beasts of their same rank. Among those present at the plaza, many knew Venerable the Blade. They stood in awe while they looked at him. Venerable the Blade had completed many lofty achievements. Some were convinced that he would very likely become a legendary battle pet warrior. The other 4 people standing around Venerable the Blade were renowned battle pet warriors as well. They had been famous for years. Usually, the ones that had just become titled battle pet warriors lacked the courage or the right to stand in front of everyone in the air, looking down at the crowd. After all, some titled battle pet warriors in the crowd came from many base cities. After Venerable the Blade said his piece, the personnel in charge of maintaining the order began to act. The teams in the first area were then allowed to enter. The others would have to wait in anticipation but quietly. Among the 5 in the air, an old man with bleached sideburns clasped his hands behind his back. He stated a question with a smile, "I wonder if 5 parcels can be explored this time." But his voice vanished before it reached the ground. A strong man that had the build of a mountain answered calmly, "To explore 3 parcels is good enough. Anyways, we're not in such a hurry. To open up all the parcels is of no use at the moment. I'm just curious about what kind of treasures can be dug out this time." The old man with gray hair laughed and replied, "I'm so envious of you because of that secret skill you obtained last time." "Same here. That cyan flute of yours is good as well. One song is enough to destroy the soul. Even 9th rank beasts would have their souls collapse," the strong man answered. Standing in the middle, Venerable the Blade looked composed. He observed for a moment and then turned around and said, "I will head into the mysterious realm to have a rest." With that said, he flew away without hesitation. The others looked at each other and forced a smile. Only Venerable the Blade could ignore the leader's orders and leave at will. "It's our turn now." Ni Chenkong put away his smile. He adopted a more serious attitude. The teams of the other areas had already entered. It was finally their area's turn. The Keen family was the first team to set off. They stepped on the stairs and went further up. Following them was Team Dragon Fang and 2 of the other top-level teams. The 3 teams were small, with merely 5 or 6 people. Next in line were some of the other outstanding teams, including Ni Chenkong's team. They walked steadily up the steps to the top of the mountain. They saw a space vortex like a crack in the sky that was suspended in the air more than 10 meters above the ground. One by one, people jumped in. Su Ping's eyes glistened. He jumped into the vortex after Yi Chenshin. The change in space and time was familiar to him. Su Ping soon got used to this feeling. He opened his eyes to look around. The first thing that leaped to his eyes was a magnificent plaza. Above him were the scorching sun and many stars. This sun seemed to be quite massive and very close. However, around the sun was a starry sky and the infinite universe that appeared to be able to suck people in. Soon, Su Ping's attention was caught by a mountain-sized dragon head. That was the dragon's skull. There was no piece of flesh left on the bones, but the horns were still there. One of the horns reached to the sky like a towering mountain. Standing on the plaza, Su Ping looked up, but he could not get a full view of the skull. The simple and vast aura of recklessness rushed toward his face, accompanied by a heart-pounding pressure from the dragon. The aura was beyond that from ordinary dragons and beasts, enough to make any life form tremble. Su Ping was stunned. He had seen this. Not only had he seen this, but he was also more than familiar with this place. The Dragon King's heritage ground. Su Ping stared at this huge dragon skull in front of him in a daze. He couldn't believe this. The Dragon King's heritage ground he found on the list of cultivation sites was here. How? The Dragon King's heritage ground was one he had randomly selected from the list of elementary cultivation sites. There were other such sites such as the Bone Demon's heritage ground or the Voodoo's heritage ground. Those heritage grounds were unlike the common cultivation sites. Everything in the heritage grounds had been built with illusions. The system stated that it learned from the tests set up in real-life heritage grounds to train pets. However, Su Ping had found the real-life location of the Dragon King's heritage ground he had picked out casually. This place was on the blue planet, on the continent, right in front of him. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 168, Pioneers Ranking. As far as Su Ping remembered, there were several million low-level cultivation planes in the system menu, while the Dragon King's heritage ground was only one of them. He couldn't believe his eyes when he realized that he was going to its exact counterpart in real life. According to the system, the heritage ground had been left behind by an ancient warrior who had long perished. It had been categorized as low-level because this warrior wasn't exactly strong. In modern times, these old relics had either vanished or somebody had already looted them clean. There might be several ones that remained intact, all of which should be hidden inside alien planets no one could explore. Su Ping stared at the dragon bone with widened eyes as he remembered another important matter. Since the Dragon King's heritage ground was supposed to have a great legacy tucked away somewhere, how about this mysterious realm? While he couldn't physically take away anything from the heritage ground generated by the system, he could definitely get his hands on real treasures in the real site. However, his excitement soon cooled off as he remembered how he needed to reach the top floor of the Dragon Tower and excavate all the dragon scale lands to be deemed qualified to inherit whatever was waiting in the end. From what he learned from Yu Chenshin, only 57 out of 109 sectors in Longtai Mountain had been successfully charted. People had a long way to go. Perhaps he could return and try his luck after all sectors had been mapped out. At the moment, however, there wasn't much he could do. Another theory suddenly struck his mind. If this place was identical to the Dragon King's heritage ground, were the layouts inside the 109 sectors exactly the same as the dragon scale lands, as well? That is, including what he could find from them. His eyes briefly gleamed upon reaching that idea, before he quickly hid his true thoughts from the others. He wasn't going to reveal this matter to anyone yet. Similar to him, most settlers nearby were all gazing at the towering dragon bone in awe. Rumors had it that this dragon was a mightier presence compared to Beast Kings when it was alive. Mr. Su, you're now looking at the Longtai Mountain mysterious realm, Yu Chenshin explained with a serious look. The dragon remains you're seeing is said to be from ancient vile beast. It was many times deadlier than your average Beast Kings. Guess even something as powerful can't survive the woes of being old, another team member nearby commented. The Dragon Tower is just up ahead. I wonder which level we can reach at the moment. Luo Guxu and Guo Yuan gazed at the tall structure. Time waits for no one. Let's get some exploration done first. We'll check out the tower when we have time to spare, said Ni Chenkong. The ladies seemed disappointed but didn't say otherwise, for they both knew that they couldn't afford to fall behind the other teams, even though they had a treasure map. Su Ping frowned and spoke up, Captain Ni, I want to check out the tower first. Ni Chenkong looked at him. Well, I can understand how young people are all eager to test their strength. But we should take care of our bigger task first. As I said, we'll hit the tower later. Su Ping had to confirm whether this place was the same as what he knew. Even though everything looked familiar, the dragon's will he felt from the dragon bone was weaker compared to the heritage ground. He needed to make sure just in case. Knowing the answer meant he would have an easier time exploring the different sectors later, because he could more or less remember what to expect. Sorry, I have to go. I'll be quick. Ni Chenkong frowned as dissatisfaction was written all over his face, though he wanted to avoid trouble among the team members if he could. Fine, we'll go with you. It just happened that Guxu had the same idea. Luo Guxu and Guo Yulan exchanged a happy look. Yi Chenshin sighed in annoyance. He knew Su Ping was strong, but he didn't expect Su Ping to succumb to the recklessness of youth. Going after the treasures was clearly the better option right then. The other two helpers didn't look pleased either, but none of them stopped Ni Chenkong. They were willing to follow Ni Chenkong's decision for the moment. Though this didn't stop them from giving Su Ping angry looks. The dragon's will intensified as they approached the dragon bone. The settlers who went there were all strong enough to resist the pressure at such a distance, although not all of them could actually challenge the tower. At the moment, a group of people who planned to enter the tower were already waiting in front of the entrance. When Su Ping found a vacant spot to wait, the others in the team stayed nearby while observing the surroundings. A moment later, another group approached the waiting area, with an outstanding woman walking right in the middle. She appeared rather eye-catching among all the settlers because she only looked a little over the age of 20, whereas the youngest settlers nearby were approaching their 30s. Also, people had all the more reasons to pay extra attention to her upon seeing how her companions were acting as if they were escorting a princess. However, as soon as people recognized her, they quickly looked away in order not to draw trouble their way. The woman gave the others an unamused glance and looked at the tower ahead, until she fixed her eyes on the 5th level. An old man beside her smiled gently. I believe you will reach the 6th level without a problem, my lady. Then you'll become the champion on the pioneers ranking. The woman didn't seem interested. She said, tell this rabble to make way. I don't have time to waste with them. The old man nodded and moved ahead to address everyone. Move aside, if you will, so our young mistress can get through. His voice sounded friendly enough, but many people were unhappy with his message. Who the heck is it? Some kind of big shot from a rich family, huh? Get in line and wait if your little lady wants to use the tower. Who do you think you are, the president's wife? What he said. Whereas some of the people protested openly, the rest of them who recognized the old man obediently left the queue with terrified looks. The old man was no longer looking so amiable. My word, is it so difficult to be a little more tolerant? He took another step ahead while fully disclosing his hidden power, which immediately froze the air as well as people who stood too close, rendering him immovable. He's a titled warrior. Upon hearing that, several smart people with quick reflexes escaped from the scene as well. That woman's Tang Ruyan. She's the one who made it to the 5th level of the tower last time. I saw her on the pioneers ranking. Shit. That's why she got a titled warrior to be her bodyguard. Those who were still trying to resist the old man's might decided to quit. They all knew that Tang Ruyan was a renowned superstar with exceptional flair. Her family had always been a dominant one across several base cities in the subcontinent. Common folk were powerless against her. HMPH. You always want it the hard way. The old man turned away impatiently. Tang Ruyan didn't look bothered by what had happened since she had been through similar things many times. She moved ahead to enter the tower but stopped in her tracks because the entrance was still blocked by someone. The old man looked that way with an angry gaze. Are you deaf, kid? Get out of my master's way. Or was I too forceful just now and you no longer feel your pathetic legs? Su Ping looked left and right and was surprised to find that all the people waiting around him had left. Are you talking to me, old man? Astral Pet Store. Chapter 169, Clash. Who else could I be talking to? Do you hear me? Move it. The old man shouted with a threatening look. Su Ping frowned. He did hear someone yelling and exerting his power back there, but didn't think it had been directed at him because that petty trick was basically nothing compared to the Dragon King. However, he didn't get to respond when someone else nearby suddenly applauded. Yet another group of 7 or 8 people were approaching the entrance, while a handsome-looking young man walked in the middle of it. Ha ha, I see that the Tang family sure lives up to their name. There are good folk who obey the rules, yet you force them to leave. I mean, is this the mysterious realm or your private training house? He's Sichu Feng, another man on the pioneer's ranking. An bystander uttered out loud. My gosh, he's also at the 5th level, right? Now this will be fun. We can't do anything to the Tang family, but the Sichu family sure won't back down so easily. All the people who had scurried away to avoid trouble came back to watch the show. Tang Ruyan scowled. Are you challenging my authority? Challenge your authority. Ha. Sichu Feng sneered and glanced at her old servant. Too bad we're not allowed to fight here. And yes, I do wish to have a taste of such a pretty chick, if I get the chance. What, you're going down? Tang Ruyan's eyebrows almost stood in rage. She channeled her 7th rank astral power and summoned her pet space, from which people smelled the stink of blood. Sichu Feng humphed and spoke to Su Ping without minding the woman. Feel free to go ahead, young friend. These bastards from the Tang family won't do a thing under my watch. I dare you to try. The old man threw Su Ping an aggressive glare. Stop it already. Does it feel good to bully kids as a senior pet warrior? Another middle-aged man in a grey robe beside Sichu Feng spoke. The old man spat but didn't answer. Meanwhile, the other observers nearby gave Su Ping a sympathetic look when they believed that this young man had become the victim between 2 clashing forces. Ni Chenkong's team were anxious to provide help but couldn't, for they could oppose neither families. The only thing they could do was silently pray for a better outcome, that Su Ping would get out of this unnecessary conflict. Su Ping sighed. Are these people seriously starting a fight just because they had to wait in line? Big families. My ass. He decided not to argue with the old man and simply walked toward the tower's entrance. Oh no you don't. The old man glowered at Su Ping's back and lifted an arm, unleashing a giant, translucent shadow of a hand made of pure astral power which aimed to slam Su Ping away. The grey-robed man also released his own astral power to block the attack, causing a giant explosion in the middle of the face-off. Infuriated, the old man raised both arms and began shooting multiple hand attacks in the same direction. The grey-robed man managed to deflect the attacks, but accidentally let one of them slip because this one in particular had been well hidden inside blinding astral power. Damn, the geezer's going to kill that kid for real. Su Ping felt the dangerous power coming at his back and discharged a needle, made of astral power he had prepared to block off the attack. He had never trusted some kind of unspoken rule to protect his life in the first place. Boom. Yet another terrible force descended upon the battlefield, causing Su Ping to look back. He immediately recognized the newcomer as a titled warrior, Venerable the Blade, about whom Yu Chenshin had just told him. Tang Ruyan, Sichu Feng as well as their companions were visibly shocked when seeing this famous figure approaching, especially the old man and the grey-robed man. They were both titled warriors, yet they felt as if they would lose their heads the moment they made the wrong move while Venerable the Blade was there. Venerable the Blade dispersed the astral hand and briefly cast a surprised glance at the entrance of the Dragon Tower where Su Ping stood. He widened his eyes slightly when he noticed how young Su Ping looked. The mysterious realm is intended for peaceful explorers, he spoke as he changed his expression to that of aloofness again. If your clans wish to settle a dispute, do it elsewhere. But not here. His voice carried a sharp force that invaded the minds of the offenders, causing him to flinch in pain all of a sudden. No one spoke a word under the commanding might. Su Ping gave Venerable the Blade a careful glimpse as he felt a small fraction of power that appeared to be the same as that shown by Beast King. But only a fraction. This had told him that Venerable the Blade was indeed not far from reaching the rank of legendary. Thank you, good sir. Su Ping did a fist in palm salute. He was grateful for that. There's no need. Venerable the Blade gave him another curious look. I can see that you didn't really need my help. He then returned to the tip of the dragon bone to maintain discipline as a guardian. Without waiting any longer, Su Ping turned around and walked inside the tower, while Venerable the Blade watched him go. The people outside felt the pressure subside and suddenly began sweating all over. Tang Ruyan bit her lips and clenched her fists with a cold look. Her old servant glanced at where Venerable the Blade was hovering and looked back. Are you unhurt, my lady? I'm fine. Sichu Feng's helper did similarly. Sichu Feng answered absent-mindedly and looked around, only to see that the young man he had meant to assist was no longer there. The other spectators began whispering to each other in awe. That's what a titled warrior is capable of. It was scary, man. Tell me about it. I felt as if I were facing a real beast king. Seriously, all the 9th rank monsters I encountered added together probably wouldn't stand a chance against that kind of strength. Those fools. They knew Venerable the Blade was watching, and they still did this shit. Do they really believe they own the place? Weird. Where's that little guy? Oh, I think he already went inside the tower. He did. Did Venerable speak to him back there? What did he say? I don't know. Maybe we were just seeing things. Who was that guy anyway? Some kid who ventured away from his family for the first time. I wonder which level he can reach. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 170, Confirmation. The entrance closed behind Su Ping as soon as he entered the first level of the Dragon Tower. He checked the dark and empty space which looked very familiar. So this is the same place. Following his previous experience, he moved to the center of the area and sensed something creepy edging closer. The presence did not try to hide. Instead, it made sure he could detect it, albeit barely. And this comforted Su Ping greatly. Come out already. A shining dot appeared in the dark distance, which grew bigger until Su Ping could see it as the ferocious head of a dragon. It hovered at a distance that made anyone who saw it believe that the dragon's giant body was nicely concealed in the darkness, waiting to close in. Of course, the dragon didn't show any particular reaction against Su Ping's words. It simply displayed its intrusive power to Su Ping, as if it would devour him in any second. Su Ping used the astral telekinesis skill and a small strand of his astral power to reach out to the dragon head. Just as he expected, the power didn't hit anything. An illusion. Su Ping sighed in relief. Most people who went there would probably get scared away by this illusion at first sight. He kept moving forward, provoking the dragon head into lunging at him all of a sudden. The image passed through his body without producing any effect. He found the ceiling entrance, and directly jumped to level 2. As he remembered, this level had been intended to test his endurance by sending an intense dragon will against his mind. The mental pressure would get 100 times worse compared to what could be felt at the entrance. Cowards would have no hope of passing. As soon as he showed up, he heard a deafening dragon roar which sent a crushing burden upon him. He was then sure that this dragon tower was the same as the one inside the system menu. The elements, the setups, not a thing was different. The onlookers outside the tower had all learned that the particular young man was currently inside the tower, thanks to several passionate gossipers. They watched as the first level stopped glowing, which was followed by the second level that had suddenly been lit up. He's on the next floor. That was fast. Did he walk straight across the first floor without stopping at all? Big deal. It's just an illusion. You ignore it and everything's done. You make it sound so simple. But that thing's scary as fuck. What will you do if you don't know it's fake beforehand? That's why you were so slow back there, idiot. The second level of the tower also stopped shining. But how? The second floor is a real test of spirit. You can't just walk past it. People slowly looked higher, but the third floor didn't brighten up as they expected. They looked down again and saw the young man appear at the entrance. So he lost. He can only beat the first floor. Well, even a kid with enough guts can do it. I'm not surprised. He scared me. I thought he was another big genius or something. Turns out he's a bummer. People mumbled in disappointment and looked away. Tang Ruyan somewhat showed a calm look as she realized that the young man she was worried about was only a nobody, which meant she had no reason to mind him. Her old servant, too, lost interest. He had made some dirty plans against Su Ping just then, but he found them to be unnecessary after realizing what a loser Su Ping was stepping on, and was not fun at all. Similarly, Sichu Feng also looked elsewhere in discontent. Su Ping found where Ni Chenkong was waiting and headed there. Checking out the second floor of the tower was enough for him to determine that he was dealing with none other than the Dragon King's heritage ground. For the moment, going treasure hunting sooner was more important. The tower could wait. Venerable the Blade frowned upon seeing Su Ping coming out that soon. He could tell that the needle attack was only possible for a titled warrior, which meant this young man was likely to perform better than Tang Ruyan and reach the 6th or even the 7th level. But the result showed him otherwise. Was I wrong about him? Strange. You're done already. The team was also surprised by Su Ping's return, especially Luo Guxu, who clearly knew Su Ping was much better than this. She was expecting Su Ping to surprise the living spirits out of everyone by going to the higher floors. The other two assistants gave Su Ping a disdainful look as they thought Su Ping's fame was unfounded. Common battle pet warriors should be enough to make it past the 2nd floor. Ni Chenkong checked the strange looks of his members and realized the matter was not so simple. Sorry for the wait, Captain, said Su Ping. I'm good to go. You did not pass the 2nd floor. We need to get on with the mission as soon as possible, right? So I stopped sooner. Huh, then why did you come here in the first place? Just checking things out. Of course Su Ping couldn't reveal his true purpose. For the moment, he would use his young man's curiosity as an excuse. Let's go then. Ni Chenkong decided not to question Su Ping's intention. Meanwhile, Luo Guxu and Yi Chenshin would not ask what had happened either. They all trusted that Su Ping chose to quit for some reason. However, the extra helpers who knew nothing about Su Ping couldn't say the same. In their view, Su Ping had wasted everyone's time and offended two influential groups in this country. This was downright laughable. Following Mi Chenkong's lead, the team arrived at a magic circle designed to teleport people to different sectors. For a fee, 10 people at a time. $1 million per use. The handler claimed and asked everyone to wait in line. Their turn came soon. Mi Chenkong paid the money without asking questions. $1 million might be a big expense for common families, but it was an acceptable cost for a veteran settler team like them. The magic circle lit up as it was recharged with energy, until it was covered by a bright barrier that prevented people from seeing across. As planned, Ni Chenkong selected Sector 92. Su Ping felt the air around him change, before he opened his eyes and saw the burning ground and registered the smell of sulfur. These elements were enough to tell him which dragon scale land he was in. End of the chapter. Astral Pets Store will be read in 5 chapters for every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.